Hey guys, so there were a lot of conspiracies that were born thanks to the strict secrecy surrounding Area 51. Now, the most popular theory states that the military base houses alien spaceships that crashed in New Mexico in 1947. Crew members of the crash ship may still be alive, according to fans of various types of UFOs, and humanoids that may also be in Area 51. Gray or green skin, huge dark eyes on a non-proportional round head, a complete lack of emotion, a short height, and long arms with thin fingers describe how the aliens look. Now, this description isn't just fantasy or UFOlogy anymore. You can find it in the pages of what you may call fake news publications, in city legends, and in pop culture. Now, supporters of the extraplanetary origin of humanity and paleocontact insist that the Earth could have been visited by aliens in the distant past, maybe tens of thousands of years ago. And this is proven by various ancient artifacts. So today we're going to talk about some recent archaeological discoveries that excited the world. A humanoid from Atacama. This story begins back in 2003 when a collector of Native American artifacts named Oscar Munoz was researching the abandoned Chilean city La Noria. Now, during his research, he found a bundle with a small human-like mummy in the city. It was about 15 centimeters long, and its appearance was well preserved. Hard teeth were even found. So there was two unusual things that were noticed here. First, there were only 9 rib pairs, unlike the standard 12 for humans. And second, and more interestingly, the mummy's head was seriously elongated. The egg-shaped head looked similar to the classic film depiction of aliens. So the discovery was called the Atacama humanoid. Now, sometime later, Oscar Munoz sold his discovery to a local pub owner for about $60. He then resold it to its current owner, the Spanish businessman Ramon Navia Osorio, for a price upwards of $160. So the Atacama humanoid wound up in a private Barcelona collection where its name was simply shortened to ATA. It was stored there until 2012, when it wound up in the hands of American doctor Stephen Greer, a professional popularizer of UFOs and other occurrences. He said that he would study the body as a potential alien. Supposedly, specialists in distorted skeletal developments had already concluded that there was little chance that the Atacama humanoid was a human. Now, Dr. Stephen Greer promised to include his full research report in his film called Sirius that came out in 2013. Thus, the Atacama mummy received worldwide fame, and everyone wrote about the ancient space alien. Then Harry Nolan from Stanford found out about the mummy, and he offered to do a DNA test on the bones, under the condition that if the DNA was human, then the film crew would denounce it as an alien. When the DNA was examined, it was human. However, what specifically happened to this person wasn't really known for many years. The biggest problem was the difference between the size of the skeleton that looked like the remains of a 5-month embryo and the bone structure. Now, we know that bones during individual development don't just get longer and thicker, they're fairly seriously changed by the anatomy. And as we mentioned earlier, the leg bones looked like the bones of a 7-year-old child, just shrunken. So we can suppose that the embryo had a type of dwarfism. It's also clear that it had some genetic defects which elongated the head, and also fewer rib pairs developed than normal. In one way or another, the DNA needed to be thoroughly examined to figure out what happened to this alien. This resulted in the alien turning out to be female, and the mummy wasn't thousands of years old as previously stated, but actually pretty new at just over 4 decades old. The object was preserved because the Atacama Desert is one of the driest places on Earth that can rot organics. Also, the subject's ancestors were locals. The bone DNA showed traits typical of the local Chiloé people, but the researchers were primarily interested in the mutations that could have caused such skeletal anomalies. An article in Genome Research says that the alien embryo had 64 potentially harmful genetic mutations. It was caused by a replacement of one genetic letter in the DNA with another. Several such changes had never been seen before. Now, 4 of them were discovered in genes that regulate bone growth and 2 more in genes that control collagen synthesis, a protein necessary for bones and cartilage. So the pseudo-alien from the Atacama Desert wasn't just an odd specimen. but an entire source of information on what mutations can occur in our genome and what they can do to us, say the scientists. Alien hand. So an archaeological expedition was excavating mountain caves in late 2016 that belonged to the Andes in Peru. Now the results shocked the scientists who had years-long research careers. There was this one cave in the southern Andes where there was a mummified three-fingered hand, and preliminary conclusions said that the given hand was from a humanoid creature, but the species wasn't clear. The discovered hand had a fracture and a piece of strange metal in the skin. It didn't belong to any species on Earth. Now, Dr. Salazar Vivanco proposed that the given discovery would reveal the secret of aliens that visited the Earth in the distant past. Nevertheless, X-rays of the wrist of the newly discovered humanoid would be fairly informative. When the images were carefully looked at, any radiologist would know that these were either bone fragments or bones like wrist bones. If it were an alien, then why would the fingers be made of human bones? The fingertips, however, were clearly made of real human fingers. Three-fingered humanoid from Peru. Thanks to another published video from Peru, you can see the mummified humanoid with almond-shaped eyes with an elongated skull and hands and toes with 3 fingers for yourself. Now, according to comments from those who were allowed to study the mummy, it has a gray-white color thanks to a specially gathered powder that was put on the body to preserve it. The creature hardened in the fetal position, and radiological analysis showed that the mummy was dated 245 to 410 BCE. The scans showed an elongated skull, the skeletal structure, and the multi-jointed fingers and toes. Now, you may notice that the mummy's fingers look like the famous three-fingered hand, and it seems we don't need to wait for DNA results to decide if it's an alien or just a silly joke played by some practical jokers. Alien mask. Archaeologists in Bulgaria discovered a prehistoric mask while excavating an ancient settlement that combines both human and animal traits. It is surprisingly similar to the alien image that sci-fi created. Now, archaeology in Bulgaria says that the prehistoric clay mask looks like the face of a mythical mouthless creature and is dated in the 5th millennium BCE. It was found by an archaeological group led by Professor Vasily Nikolov in the prehistoric Solyana Yama salt pan settlement near Provida in northeastern Bulgaria. The local media compared this artifact to an alien in a spacesuit when discussing this discovery. This wonderful prehistoric mask really does combine traits of both humans and animals and looks like aliens from a sci-fi film. The town Providia is also dated to 5,000 years BCE and is called the oldest city in Europe. Additionally, Providia was a flourishing town and the locals got rich by mining salt and trading it with far-off regions for almost 4,000 years while excavating the Solyana Yama settlement. However, this mask probably wouldn't have attracted so much attention if it weren't for its intriguing appearance. Judging by the description, it almost has a right triangular shape. The face size juts out and the rear size seems to be dented inwards and roughly made. Both upper angles of this prehistoric mask have short protrusions with holes. The archaeologists think this mask was used as a protective amulet or a status symbol worn on the chest. Nevertheless, this mask is made from the late Neolithic epoch. It's another gem in the crown of discoveries made in this ancient town and the salt-boiling center of Europe. It's kind of like Occam's razor, right? According to that principle, if there are two theories that explain the same thing, with one theory being more complex, like those about these discoveries, the simpler theory should be right and the convoluted one should be wrong. Well, that's all for today. Be sure to leave us a like and comment. Let me know the weirdest thing that you saw in the video. And we'll see you again next time.